We're going to start out with our psoas stretch. It's going to help us to offset any exercise or movements that are bringing our knee closer to our face. That includes sitting down at your desk, any sort of running, squats. Anytime we're bringing that knee closer to our face, we're apt to be shortening our psoas. So I prefer to do this in a squat with my knee on the ground. I feel like I get a better stretch out of it by having that knee anchored there, and I'm not working quite so hard for my balance. I'm putting my front leg in front of me with my foot a little bit ahead of my knee so that I've got some room to move forward into the lunge, keeping my tailbone tucked underneath me, and then lunging forward a little bit so that we're in a happy position with this knee here. And if I'd like to deepen the stretch, as I'm stretching this psoas here, I can raise this arm overhead and then lean away from it. So I'm leaning towards my left side here, creating a little bit more length through this whole side of the body, creating a little bit deeper stretch for that psoas as it moves from my hip up to my lumbar spine. Hold that about 30 seconds. Lather, rinse, repeat. Do it on the other side. So next, in days when I'm doing big squats, I find that I've got a bit of adductor soreness. I need to make a point of getting those nice and stretched out. One of my favorite places to start in that is just a side lunge. Keeping my toes a little bit tracked towards my knees, both feet, just to keep those knees nice and safe. And getting that stretch right through the inside of the thigh here. I can sort of rotate my hips around to target the muscles that I feel need the stretch a bit most. Be smart, go where you feel like you need it most. We can move from here to get some of these hamstrings in the back a little bit by moving into what we call a Cossack stretch, picking that toe up, keeping the knee tracking nicely here with the toes. That gets a little bit more of the hamstrings, still getting some of my adductors for me, helping me get a little bit deeper into my squat. Same thing with each of these, holding them about 30 seconds, doing them to both sides. Taking your time, being nice and thorough in both of them. So we need, in order to target the outside of the hips here, we can actually start in a similar position that we were just in with that Cossack stretch. So I'm in this Cossack stretch, keeping a straight spine, doing my best to keep my chin, or my chest up and my chin. Got my toe up on this foot. So I'm going to work this way towards my lunging foot, and I'm going to rotate myself around 180 degrees eventually. First I'm going to lean forward, get my hands on the ground, walking towards my lunging leg, I'm pivoting on the balls of both feet until I'm facing the opposite direction here, and I'm on the outside of my extended foot. And this should help me find a stretch through here, and if I'm nice and low, through here, through the outside of the hip, getting into that IT band, those IT band muscles. And we can hang out here in this position for a little while. And when we're ready to come out of it after a good 30-second hold or so, we just reverse the process. Walk our hands back around our lunging leg, so we're facing in the direction we started, and then we can come back up, move through to the other side, and repeat on the other side without ever picking our feet up, or ever coming out of this movement, and getting our other side stretched out as well. Another stretch, another option to address some of the outside of the hips and the inside of the hips, rotators of the hips, gets a lot of different things all at once. This pigeon pose from yoga, you may recognize it. I prefer to get into it for stretching purposes simply by beginning with a lunge. And then I'll lean forward, allowing my hips to point down towards the ground a little bit, reach my hands down to the ground. And then I'll tuck this leg underneath me, getting the knee on the ground. Incredibly important. Keep your toes flexed up towards your knee. It's going to help to protect the knee through some of the muscles and ligaments and tendons that attach all through here. If you can't keep that flexed the whole time, if you feel like it's relaxing and compromising your knee, just quit the stretch. Find an alternative. Do something different. Let's keep your knees safe. So I've got my knee down, got my toe flexed, got my hips pointing to the ground, and I'm able to sink my hips back towards my back foot there a bit. If I need to go deeper in this stretch, I can always move this back foot back a bit more. And I'm keeping these toes flexed and on the ground to also help protect that knee as well. The further back I move into this, the more I feel it through here with these rotators being stretched. And I feel it some through the outside of my glutes. Some of those IT band muscles that we were addressing earlier. I can hang out here if I really want to. I can move forward into my forearms if that feels better for me. Explore this whole range of movement here. Explore with your foot being further back, further forward. Trust your body, listen to it. When you feel like you're in the right place for the right stretch for you today, stay there. Now we're going to address the quads. It's going to be a series of 3 stretches, getting progressively deeper for you. First one is to start with a standing quad stretch. A couple important things to note with this quad stretch. We need to keep our knees together, and if you need something to hold on to for balance, that's fine. If you're happy balancing on your own, go for it. So we're going to kick our heel up behind us, support our ankle to keep that knee flex there. And we're going to aim to have our heel just to the outside edge of our glutes. Keeping our knees in line here. Our stretch isn't with our knee here, here, back here. None of these things are stretch. They may be what you do to help you find your balance, but they're not the right stretch here. Keep that knee nice and tight and just hang out, drawing that heel towards the very outside edge of your glutes. Hang out in that stretch 30 seconds as usual, repeat the other side. And then we'll look at the next deeper option for getting a deeper quad stretch. So for this next progression of a quad stretch, we're going to start in a bit of a lunge like we did with our Psoas, our hip flexor stretch earlier. I'm starting with my knee on a nice padded surface here. It's going to help protect it as we get it flexed and further into a stretch. I'll lean forward and support myself with my hands as I bring my heel up towards my bum again and scoop and support that ankle again. Just like with the previous one, the standing stretch, we're aiming for that heel at the outside edge of the glutes. Now I can come back upright a bit, support myself on this other knee here, keeping my chest nice and high, nice and tall, keeping my spine long, trying to tuck my pelvis, tuck my tailbone under again, continuing to draw that knee towards my glutes, and we'll keep that ankle in a neutral position also to help protect things there with the knee. And keep drawing in until I get a good nice stretch to the front of the thigh there and those quads. So third here in our progression of quad stretches offers a deeper stretch and offers a little bit more support and stability for you in the kneeling quad stretch. We're going to start with something behind us to support us. It can be your chair, your couch, your kids, your dog. Probably not a good choice with the kids and dog, lest they should run away. But we're going to start at a bit of an angle, with our legs sort of parallel to that surface. And we're going to move into this stretch similarly to how we did before. We're going to be diagonally, moving out diagonally from the couch there, or box in our instance. And then I'm going to move this foot up, get it balanced there, and then gradually walk my toes and hands so I'm facing straight out from there. And then we can come back up just as we did in that other one to upright. I can move my knee closer to the box if I want to get a deeper stretch, or further away if I need a bit less of a stretch. I can adjust the position of my hips also to adjust the depth of the stretch. This gives me a little bit more support than if I'm holding on here. But depending on the height of your couch and your position of everything, it may be too deep of a stretch, too difficult to get into, depending on where that couch may fall in relation to your foot. So give it a shot. It might be more stable. It might help you get a deep enough stretch for yourself, or it might not work at all for you. Last bit of stretching that I wanted to address is some of the obliques and upper attachments to the hips. We've addressed a lot of things that move down from the hips. Kind of want to address some of the stuff that comes up as well a little bit. So, real easy one, probably going to feel real good for most folks, and it's going to get you a nice lumbar spine stretch too. It's just a simple supine spinal twist. So we're going to lay down. In order to get into this stretch, I tend to shift my hips a little bit to the opposite side that I'm going to rotate to. So here I'm going to rotate to my hips to the left, so I'm hiking my hips to the right. I'm going to draw up that right knee and rotate over. Now, because we're aiming to get to some of these muscles through here, we want to avoid our tendency for this hip to raise up towards our shoulders. So we may need to actively push it down a little bit. And for me, it's easier to straighten that leg as I push that hip down and then bring this knee back into flexion here. I can also get my hands on top of my hips and push that down to help keep this hip moving that way as best as possible, as opposed to coming up towards my head. Feeling this stretch through these obliques here and up into my ribs, which is what I want to get. Some of these muscles are engaged in keeping our hips up off the ground as we're moving around, as we're running. It sort of stabilizes that hip as we raise that same leg on that side. That's why I wanted to address this one. Come out of it the same way you went into it. Repeat on the other side, holding 30 on both sides.